Hello, legends and super legends. Good morning. It's about -1.5 C, like 29 Fahrenheit. We have what we call down here a hard freeze. When you go below freezing and there's no moisture, they call it a hard freeze. So it's starting out cold and it's going to probably during the ride top out at 11 C. So it's going to be cold the whole ride. So I sent the guys a text letting them know, don't wear the team kit. Get your heavy winter stuff out. This is not the day to be cute. So I've got my base layer. This is made by Santini. It's a heavier base layer than the ones that I usually wear made by Rafa. But even though it's heavy, it's breathable. It wicks moisture. It's important that whatever base layer you wear, make sure it has a wicking material. Otherwise, you would just get wet, which will make you cold when you stop. So you don't want to just put on any kind of base layer. You want to make sure that material wicks moisture. And so today I'm wearing my old retro Molteni long sleeve jersey. It's nice and warm. It has a fleece backing. It's made for cold weather. I got that a long time ago from Prendas Ciclismo. I've got this mic on here, so I'm just going to leave it open for now. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to share with you guys is I'm going to put this on. They call it Aquaphor. And you can use Vaseline if you want. I'm using this because it says it's for dried, cracked, and irritated skin. It's basically a skin protectant. And when it's cold like that, the cold air can burn your lips. And a lot of skiers know this, even your nose. So you have to protect that. Some skiers will even protect their nose from the sun. Put on sunblock on their nose because they got shades and everything, and that's what's exposed. So when it's really cold like this, I put a thin layer on my lips. If you don't, people like us who are darker skin, your lips will blacken when the skin gets damaged. For people who are lighter, the Caucasian guys, your lips will get red. You know, it's almost like the blood vessels are affected. So you have to do that if you're going to be out in the cold, whether you're cross-country skiing or cyclocross riding or racing, you want to protect your lips. So I just do my lips because that's the area that I have the most problem with. As far as the rest of my face, I just put on regular lotion this morning. I have embrocation on my legs, even though I'm wearing these tights, because they kind of wake up everything and get the blood flow going. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I broke out this is a hat that I bought a long time ago from Rafa. And I wanted to share with you guys just why I call them technical wear. The reason I'm not wearing a cotton cycling cap is because this hat has an ear flap. And when it's cold like this in the morning, makes a big difference. But for me, and I'm sure for a lot of riders, once you start riding, you tend to heat up a little more. So then what you can do with a hat like this is just flip this up without taking out the helmet. It's designed for these ear flaps to just go up like that. So I start out with them down and I get my helmet on there. You want a helmet where you have not cut the straps too short when you did the adjustment. That's why I never adjust my helmets without a hat under there. You know, if you have to cut the strap, because some of the new helmets come with very long straps because they're trying to accommodate different sizes in that range. Just make sure you have a helmet that has an extra notch, because when you put on these hats, you need that room. It's a little thicker than a summer cotton cap, but it's not very thick. That's why I call them technical wear. It's these little pieces, these little things that makes the difference. And of course, today is the day for the heavy duty gloves. Rafa calls them winter gloves. I got them years ago. And the thing I like about them is they may look bulky. They don't feel bulky. You can still pick up a coin with them. And so I will be wearing that. Since it's going to stay cold, I'm not layering too thin gloves. I'm going to wear those guys because they're nice and toasty. I try to keep my extremities protected because my body heats up. So with this, all I will need is this combination here, because once I start riding, my body will heat up. So I will be cool to start, but within a few minutes of riding, my torso is never a problem. It's always the extremities. So I want to share that with you guys. I put my cell phone in a bag here. I always save these bags that are close to the size of my cell phone. When you order stuff that come with them, I always save them. It's just nice to have, so I don't have any moisture or anything. And this jersey here has an external zippered pocket, so that's where I'll put the cell phone. That way I still have access to all my pockets. And I wrapped up some banana bread just for variety. The same recipe that I did a video for. And then I'm going to take a gel and a couple of these. When it's really cold, you want to eat. I've already had my electrolyte drink. I don't have any appetite this morning, so I just have my electrolyte drink. You don't want to skip eating when it's cold, because the energy that you generate from digesting the food also helps to keep you warm. Plus, you need that energy in the cold. And then you definitely don't want to forget to drink. So I have 2 large bottles. I have one large bottle and one regular size bottle. The regular size bottle, I have electrolyte drink in it. And the large one, I have water. It's easy to forget to drink. You don't need to necessarily drink as much, but you do need to drink. So you don't want to forget that. And of course, I will be covering my shoes. So I'm putting these on my shoes for visibility. That's what's going on there. So I'm going to go ahead and get ready. I'm taking the Colnago. It's ready, aired up, 90 PSI in the front, 95 in the back. I found that to be the most comfortable air pressure for me. So hope you guys get a chance to get some K's in. We're having unusually cold weather down here. It's supposed to be sunny and clear, even though it's going to be cold. So I'm ready. Go ahead and get ready. Morning, legends and super legends. I'm hustling to get over there, so I'm a little behind schedule. It's almost 7:30. Really don't want to keep anybody waiting. There's a little bit of light frost on the grass, but nothing. It's just cold. We're a little below freezing right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my gloves on my right hand. I needed it off so I could turn this camera on. Get this computer started. Yeah, I basically have my gloves off, and so my right glove anyway, because the buttons on the remover are very recessed. But I sped it up here. Now this is where the sensors kick in. Everything's synchronized. I have to get all these synchronized, otherwise it messes up the data capture. If you notice, the temperature says 11C. That's from inside the house. The head unit, it has not acclimated. You know, it's gone down to 10. It's going to keep dropping. It's going to get to 0. And I think it may get to even -1, but I'll point it out. So now it's 9. My arms and my fingers and my feet feel nice and warm. My torso feels cold, which is fine because I just started right. That means I dressed right. If I were to be comfortable right this moment in my torso, that would mean I got too much stuff on. Because once we start riding in earnest, in conjunction with the temperature going up, my body's going to heat up. So you want to feel a little cold when you start, as far as your torso, but not your extremities, because the blood will not move there. That's why I've got my shoe covers on. You guys can see that. My Belgian overshoes. Got those on sale from Rafa. I got a bunch of those. They were like $10 US on sale, and they're normally 45. So I got a bunch of them. They're nice. 2 minutes behind. Old school stuff. I like that. So if you notice that I have my neck warmers on, I got those on sale too from Rafa years ago. Don't really use them that much, but man, on this morning it was perfect. In fact, I got a little warm. You will see in a little bit. I unzipped my jersey a bit. But covering your ears make a big difference. Right, because everything is comfortable except my torso. So it's okay for your torso to feel cool when you're just starting the ride, because when you ride, your body will heat up. I hope it's gone. There was a guy working on the rail arms or something, but I couldn't see him here. The arms were just down, and all the cars were getting impatient, so people were going on the opposite side of the road to get across, because the arms on the other side leaves a little bit of room. So I just rode up here and waited a little bit, and after a while I managed to get around it. But there was no train. He's working on stuff, and you can't see him here, but on the return you'll see him when I pick up the guys. I'm not sure if the train has passed or we're waiting for it to come. Yeah, what I'm talking about is track, the signals here. This is on the way back after I picked up the guys. It was down and there's no train. There's the pickup truck on the left. That's the engineer working on the signals. So he's finally parked here. I didn't know where he was when I was coming. So we're headed north now. I'm going back. The guys are behind me. So what I do is I dress up and go outside. I walk around and see how it feels. See, the temperature says 4C. Yeah, it's not going to be much more than 50. By the time we're done, it'll be at 50. So we'll go around the arms here. Colder. And you see this driver going on our side of the road? That's the only way to get across when the arms are down. On that side, you got some room. Yeah, we're rolling, man. What cold? Are we Mises or men? Gotta be hard. Gotta get out. Gotta keep your appointment. The boys are out. Team kit is not designed for weather like this, so we're broke out the big duds. You see, I zipped my jersey down just a little bit because that neck warmer just filled the gap. Broke out the real winter gear. See Paul over there, all in black, blue black. Yep. My Santini jersey has a thermal fleece on the inside. Very warm. I don't even need a wind vest. It's not windy this morning. Yep. Oh, we'll get that blood warm. We'll get that blood warm, man. Frankie said he was cold. I told him we'll get his blood warm. Nope. No. You ain't got no frozen bottle today. Paul's teasing Frankie about the frozen bottle last week that fell. And they ain't got no frozen bottles today. If you notice, Frankie has his ear covered as well. So does Paul. And this is for Stuart and Clive and all you guys out there. Covering your ears just makes a big difference. And then, of course, your face, if you can. But it was beautiful yesterday, man. It was pretty. I had to make a film on it. Yeah, well, so the whole drive when I took the girls to school, I filmed it. The whole neighborhood looked different.
I sent my brother pictures. I sent a said it doesn't snow in Texas.
You know, it's funny. That's what I said in my film too.
Who said
Yep.
it doesn't snow in Texas? Here we go. Here's the proof.
They get more snow in Dallas than we do. When it snows down here, that's rare.
You guys notice the temperature now says 0 C. It's more like minus 1 C.
2009.
It's going to keep going down until it picks up the actual temperature. Then it starts to go back up.
Why? Did you see that mess in San Antonio?
Paul's talking about the mass car pileup in San Antonio when the snow came.
Let them run into each other. They don't respect the laws of physics. The laws of physics will teach you. When they were teaching them physics in school, they probably skipped that day. Shit. What? When they grew up under a rock, they don't know it's slippery when wet? I mean, it's like, I mean, come on, man. You don't have footing. Why are you following these people? You don't know where they're going. You're not gonna get there any quicker.
Yeah, that's Texas. We tailgate too much, even when wet.
They just make poor decisions, man. That's
why they had a massive car pileup in San Antonio, because of the little snow we had. That's what we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
But the cool thing is that
I'm not sure why, because they didn't flood up here.
cycling. We're talking about his house is being renovated. Frankie thought the flood affected it, and I told him no, it's just a renovation. These guys were not flooding on the street. But we forgot about it being cold. Just the three of us rolling out, chatting. That's the beauty of being in a group. And so it took our mind off of the weather. So we're easing into it. We're having a nice conversation and kind of getting our bodies warmed up. 17 minutes or so into the ride. That's the nice thing about riding in a group. So it has its benefits. It's not just about being competitive. It's really social.
When I got up, it was 29.
So it says 0 C. Yeah, right now it should be minus 1. It will get there.
You boys need to get out more, huh?
Teasing those dogs for barking at us. I told them, boys, you got to get out more.
You never see cats on bikes? Better back off. Yeah, it was 29. That's our low. Yeah, that's minus 1.5 Celsius. We're lucky if we're at freezing right now. It's cold. Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were looking at me like it was crazy.
So with the neck warmer, I'm very comfortable. With my ears covered, I'm very comfortable. I got a little warm when I was riding to go get the guys. And I think about here is where I go ahead and zip up my jersey because I'm getting a little cool.
I always look at them like they're crazy. Why are you driving? Why are you driving? Didn't you hear about the price of gas?
What we're talking about there is Paul says that the drivers are looking at us like we're crazy. And so I tell them that I give them the same look.
Where does that stop?
You're crazy. Haven't you heard about the
people?
price of gas going up?
Unless it's on safe. Please, a little cool weather. There's a reason to make all these technical pieces, man. They think the people that ski, they ski when it's warm. Shit, it's butt cold up there. Look at this thing. Look at the frost. Be careful over there, Paul. Don't go in the water. Look at that bad boy.
Yeah, the grass has frost on it. And of course, nobody's on the links. This is a golf course. Nobody's playing. So Paul made a joke about it.
Oh yeah. You gotta wear stuff, man. Yeah. I mean, you gotta wear like a balaclava, cover your head. Yeah. And your neck.
Yeah, Frankie's talking about when he was in the military. They used to be out in this weather on post, and he said he'd just be outside all day cold.
Yeah.
Telling us what all the stuff he used to wear. So he's very, very familiar with cold weather.
Like a long johns.
Frankie's lived all over the world.
Yeah.
Frankie's lived in Germany.
I hear you.
Now he's back in Houston.
Yep.
So he's a world traveler. And he was dressed appropriately for this ride. Got his head covered and everything. So Frankie knows the cold. So we're going to be working on Frankie's fit this week. We're gonna schedule him in, get him dialed in.
And half the stuff they tell you to do that makes sense. Like, why am I guarding this empty building?
Yeah, we're talking about the military where they got people on post guarding a building that may be empty because they got their reasons, but you never know. They're just there in the cold.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Look at it.
Look at the golf course. That's the golf course. All the frost.
Yeah, we're still below freezing.
And now the temperature says -1.
29.4.
That's the temperature.
Yeah, right now.
That's the temperature. That's
29.4
real.
Fahrenheit.
The overlay has finally, my head unit has finally acclimated to the outside.
The beer would freeze.
They were teasing the golfers who said they're not playing because the beer would freeze.
That's why I'm done drinking and hitting the ball.
So the conversation is.
This is what makes you tough. You can't let the weather stop you from living. Come on. Really?
That little piece, I just want to mention that orange neck warmer.
It's frozen right now.
Just
Everything's
created
frozen.
such a
Even
nice
the squirrels
seal.
didn't leave home. They're in their houses hanging out. You ride in weather like this, when it's 65, 70 and people want to go hard, you just smile.
Yeah.
Come on, boys. I'm on the beach. I'm on the beach right now.
We noticed that there were no other cyclists out. That was the thing about this ride. Nobody else was out.
Oh no. They're going, no,
And it ended up being a
too cold.
beautiful day.
They probably got a late text saying, ride canceled.
We're joking about one of the groups we used to hook up with earlier in the year. They would cancel a ride just on a whim.
You get a little bit of rain, and you get it's gonna be wet.
But right about here, Frankie tells me he's been researching Texas hills, and he came across one called Jester, which I used to live in the area, Jester Mountain.
I mean, you know, it's
Austin,
in the city. It's off
Austin,
of
Texas.
2222, 360 area there in Austin. But from that area, that whole 360 has a wide shoulder, and there are a lot of rolling hills, much steeper than here and longer.
You know, Austin,
And so I would
Texas
ride
is
that loop.
cycling
It was a 2-hour
nirvana.
loop. Go out to a place
Texas
called B
area.
Caves.
Cycling's really
in
big
Austin.
there.
Yeah, B
A lot of
Caves.
top cyclists
That's
live there.
the ride.
Lance lives there.
That's what made you strong. And then
All
on
these
the
guys,
east side
Tyler
of Austin is
Hamilton,
flat.
all of them used to come to Austin.
So the guys who are afraid of hills will ride on the east side. The
Lot of
problem
hills.
is, it
I
does
used to
not
live
prepare
in
you.
West Austin, Northwest Austin,
You know?
Chester
Going straight, keep
Mountain.
rolling.
That's what he's talking about, and I'm explaining to him.
So yeah,
About. And I also
Austin
tell him
has
about
hills.
my adventures
That's right
at the district championships, the Texas district championships in the late 80s when Lance was with Super Montgomery. So these are the stories we're talking about as we warm up. The joy of cycling.
and the pitches, we're talking 20% or more. Yeah, it's like climbing up the side of a building, man. It was just brutal.
Yeah, Buford was like a baby
First time I climbed
Motirolo.
Buford, man, I couldn't
Very
breathe.
steep.
It's like, man,
You can't even get a rhythm on that thing. You need like
I
a
didn't climb it
32 in
very
the
often.
rear.
that's not what you look. That's not one that you look forward to climbing.
I didn't
So I
climb it
always
very
took the long
often.
way home.
I took the easier way
All
home, which
the
was a
grades,
3 to 5% grade.
home, but
They got a Stone Mountain.
yeah.
They got a lot of hills over there too.
Oh yeah. San Antonio. I did a district road race there. Before Lance was with Motorola, he was with Super Montgomery cycling team, and at the state championships, we all went, all the ambitious folks, and Lance made us look like rookies. Man, we were climbing this guy in a big chain ring, and just rode away from the pack. This was before he signed with Motorola. He was with a team called Super Montgomery. That was a sponsor. Rode away from everybody. It was clear that the class was a different level. I mean, he just rode away, man. He was doing what we call big ringing it. Yeah. On the big chain ring, riding up those climbs, because the whole course was up and down. And he rode away and just finished the race on his own. So the race was up to the rest of the guys. He just rode away from them. I was like, man. And about a year or so later, he signed up with Motorola. because he won the World Championships in 1993 in Norway. It's funny that these so-called critics, the guy is at the World Championship road race. Miguel Indurain, all these guys are there. He breaks away, wins the World Championship on his own, and say, oh, he can't time trial. How the hell did he get away? You know, what are you talking about? Miguel Indurain was second that year. He broke away. He can't time trial. And that was what the rumor was. So those geniuses behind him did not chase. Oh, he can't time trial. We'll catch him. Right. Yeah. This was before his cancer. This was like 93. Yeah, this before, yeah, before he knew he had cancer. He broke away in Oslo, Norway. So then at the end of the race, you know, when you win, you get to meet the king and the queen and all that. And he said that he would not meet the king and the queen without his mother, because they said only the winner. He said, I ain't going in there without my mom. You want to meet me? You got to meet me and my mom. Yeah, it was a big deal, you know, and they relented, yeah. Because, you know, his mother was there to watch the race. Broke away, won that race solo, man. So in Austin, what the guys did, they went to his house and painted on the driveway, welcome home, world champion. So when he came home, that's what he saw. Because, you know, people here don't know what's going on unless you're in the sport. So they painted on his driveway, welcome home, world champion. You know, 1993, I remember. And that's the year when he signed with Motorola. He, that season, that winter, he and Steve Bauer and then trained in Austin. Jim Ochowicz was coaching them at the time. The guy who's coaching BMC right now.
Cycling folklore.
Cycling is a very small
I didn't
world,
finish the district road race that year. My climbing was not up to snuff. I basically had to pull out because I got lapped.
Yeah, Paul, hold this. It's on.
Okay. Okay, let's go.
So at this point, we're ready to start doing some riding. We've hit the open road somewhat, out of the neighborhoods now. So with the right gear, you can ride in really cold temperatures. I mean, this is pretty much right at freezing right now. The neck warmers, the hat that I have, I'm wearing my full tights, my overshoes, and then my deep winter gloves from Rafa. The reason I'm mentioning that is these are specific things designed for cycling. Don't just go to a sporting store, get something that's not designed for the sport you're in, because chances are it may not work very well, and then you're still out money. So you need to be very specific. If you get gloves that are designed for skiing, make sure they're going to work for you. Make sure you'll have the dexterity you need to deal with little things like shifting, your shift levers and all that, because skiers don't have to deal with that. So I don't think their gloves are necessarily designed to where you can pick up a coin. So I'm wearing a pair of gloves that appear very heavy, but they're not. Not only are they light, they're very warm, and I can pick up a coin with them. So I can even reach in my pocket and get food, you know, within reason. If your pocket's really crowded with a bunch of stuff, it's hard to do it with those gloves. But the reason I'm stressing that is nothing prevents you from getting out there. The biggest hassle in freezing temperature is your face, the skin on your face. When that wind hits it, it feels painful. That's why I have that orange neck warmer, which actually doubles as something that you can cover like your upper lip, almost like a balaclava. and then making sure that your ears are covered. So you need to get cycling specific wool caps or whatever material they're made of that have a flap for your ears. That's very important. Those are the little things I refer to as technical wear, because it's those little pieces that can change your experience in challenging weather. So right now we're riding at freezing and it's fine. The roads are okay. There's nothing on there that prevents us from using it. That's the biggest thing for people who live in areas that have snow. So yeah, if the roads have snow and it's not safe, don't go out there, because you don't want to increase your chances of injury. So if the roads are in good condition and they're cleared and you don't have the chance of slipping and all that kind of stuff, yeah, you can get out there. And actually, this time of year, if you're in those kind of areas, take out, if you have a mountain bike, take it out or use larger tires on your road or cyclocross bike. That's the time for it. So we knew it was going to continue to warm up, and that's the reason why I did not bring a jacket or a vest, because I knew it was going to continue to warm up. If it had been a day where it was going to stay right at freezing, I was still dressed appropriately, because we had 2 bottles of water. We didn't plan to stop. As long as you're moving, your torso is good. It's your extremities that get you, your ears, your fingers, your feet, when it's very cold. So on this ride, I felt very comfortable. And the tights perform admirably. They are made by Castelli, and I was very impressed with the function. So no, it's not the weather for arm warmers. I mean, if that's all you have, fine, it would work. But on a day like this, I knew I wasn't going to be taking anything off. So I only wore the cap with the ear flap that I would flip up into the second hour or so. The heart rate reading on the screen on the overlay is inaccurate because the weather was so cold. There was not enough moisture on the electrode, so it really did not have the best contact with my skin, because it's not 108. It's probably more like 140 or something like that. We're in zone 2 here. So that's it gets better later, because at this intersection I adjusted a little better. I ended up actually at one stop putting moisture on it, put some water on it, and that helped for the reading. That's what happens when it's very cold like that. So at this intersection, Paul started having challenges with the gimbal. I think he hit a pothole or something when we took off from this intersection. So the gimbal bounced and the camera
I guess you guys didn't hear me.
went out of whack. And so he's telling us, so he basically did not film us until we showed up. This is another intersection.
That's
And now he's telling us here that he was having challenges. We didn't hear him, and we had kept riding. So I was telling him here, next time just move the camera manually. Don't worry about the button. When you got gloves on your hand, you can't push that button. The button is recessed. They do that on purpose so you don't accidentally mess with the gimbal setting.
So Paul, I couldn't hear nothing. All I could do is
I figure you didn't hear me though.
all the thing I could do is just,
That's okay.
I was just in the zone. All I could think about is stay warm, stay warm.
So Frankie didn't hear Paul tell us to stop before we got to this intersection after the other one. So we just kept riding. So we did all the hills, the first hills in Flint Ridge, without Paul being there to film it, because he had stopped to mess with it.
And when I crossed the road, I just bumped them, and then
So you hit a bump, and when the action, if the velocity is too much and it affects the calibration, the gimbal will just go limp. So I told him next time just manually straighten the camera. Don't worry about resetting the gimbal, because if you manually straighten the camera, at least you're getting your shot.
I said, man, I got everybody in the zone.
So he had called out to tell us to pull over, but we didn't hear him. I was at the front, Frankie was behind me, so once we got to that intersection, Frankie looked back. I didn't think Paul was not there. So. But we're good. He didn't miss too much. So I'm adjusting my neck warmer. I don't know if this is where I took it off or not. Probably not. It's still 32 degrees. I'll probably pull in on my chin. That's where no hands riding come in handy. Messing around with my jacket and the zipper and so forth, and you can just sit up and the bike can just roll.
This is a small piece of wool.
Yeah.
And it just fits the bill.
Telling him about the neck warmer and how comfortable it makes me feel. It blocks that wind that gets around the neck area. It is just perfect. As I look at this, I probably should have gone with the lime green oversocks, but
Yeah.
I wanted something different, I guess. Yeah, because I see that lime green stripe on the tights. Probably would have worked great next time I went. But I went with that color to try to get close to the neck warmer color. It's the contrasting color, like that orange neck warmer stands out when you have it against a black jersey. Same thing hunters do in the woods. They wear orange vests or orange shirts. You stand out against the green.
Yeah, man.
So Frankie's teasing me here, calling me Italian stallion because my bike is Italian, the components, the saddle.
Italian in your previous life.
Frankie said you must.
He said I must have Italian in my
I have
family.
Italian in my family because even back home, we used to get shoes from Italy.
Yeah.
And I loved them. Ferragamo.
Yeah.
And they were
Love
not
them.
overpriced.
That's
They
in
came
your.
on the ship.
I'm looking at your seat. You got the Italian flag on your
SMP,
seat.
yeah, SMP. That's an Italian. They make nice stuff. I mean, they pay attention to the detail.
Yeah.
The Italians have style.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
So I was just letting him know it's just a coincidence because the Italians just make nice stuff. You know, other people make nice stuff too, but it just seems like Campagnolo. I used to ride Shimano back in the day. Campy was the first one that put the wires under the tape, and I just love the aesthetic. And then it just functions well. And then they're always serviceable. You can get the little parts when they break, and you can take apart your shifter and rebuild it. Shimano doesn't even bother. You might as well get a new one. So over the years, I've just gravitated to Italian stuff, the bikes and all of that. So, you know, Pinarello, Colnago, Bianchi, those are the bikes we rode. That's what I was telling him. I said, they just make nice stuff. You know, I don't have an Italian bias or anything. It just happens most of the nice stuff that they make it ends up being Italian. I love the aesthetic. They just have a lot of style, you know. So that's what we're chatting about. And then he brought up what's his name, Mario Cipollini, and his style, you know. So we talked about that too. So a lot of the early part of this ride is conversation, and then we pick it up in a little bit. But we're still moving along. That's the benefit of having partners on a ride. The hours just go by. If you notice, my cadence is up. It's not by accident. It's cold. So I want to make sure I keep my legs turning at a decent cadence to keep my body warm. That's what keeps you warm, and it keeps your legs ready. If you look at my cadence and look at Frankie's cadence, you can see the disparity there. Frankie's just rolling his gear. We're talking. We're not riding hard or anything. And so we're going to be working on Frankie's fit this week because after observing him, I feel that he's not pulling up enough, and I think his saddle's a little high. You see his hips rocking? Just look at his green jersey right here. His hips rocking just a bit. If you look at me, my legs are moving like pistons. My hips don't rotate. Look at Frankie's. You see, look at his pockets. You see that slight roll. That means his saddle is close, but just a tad high. By bringing it down and getting him set up correctly, he will be able to pull up more. Right now, I think he's using more quadriceps. You see that little roll? Just look at his pockets. The jersey, the green part shows it really well. That's how you know. So we're going to take care of that today. I mean, well, not today, this week. He's going to schedule and come into the studio. And I plan to film his fit Frankie's got big plans. He's going to be getting a road bike down the road. He's asked me to do the build for him. So we're going to select the frame for him and all that. So, you know, Frankie's a strong supporter of the channel. So we're going to make sure he's set up correctly. But I wanted to point that out so you can see that even though he's close, he's not quite there. And what happens is when things start getting really hard, that makes a big difference in the recruitment of the muscles in the back of your legs. You can see his roll right there. That's how you know. So he's close. He's got a decent position, but it needs to be perfected. So right now you can see my heart rate monitor now is finally working. I had adjusted it at the last intersection, put a little bit of moisture on it, and it's fine. So we've basically been riding in zone 1 and zone 2. So now we're nice and warmed up. It's a little over an hour into the ride, and we're beginning to really get into it. This is a slight grade, probably 0.6. Now it says 1. You can tell from the angle of the camera that it's going up. That's why I like this gimbal. So even though you guys are not on the road with us, you can actually see when the road goes up. The gimbal keeps a good balance with the horizon. I decided to take this out of the saddle. Now you can see, even though I'm out of the saddle, look at my cadence. It's in the 80s. I'm not sprinting or anything, but I'm just in a good gear that I can carry because it's a cold day. So I'll go ahead and take the lead. Frankie's following me. So my long-term goal working with Frankie is to have him increase his cruising cadence. And that starts with us dialing him in. It will just automatically be a lot easier for him to achieve that. Riding in zone 2 right here. For me anyway, that's my zone 2. I don't really look at heart rate much during the ride. I can just tell by RPE, the rate of perceived exertion. That's what I use when I'm riding, especially in company. Even when I'm riding solo, I only periodically glance at heart rate. I made a video with my displays and how I have it set up on my Garmin. Primarily have cadence at the top, then I've got the grade, you know, because cadence is really what I monitor. I don't, even though I'm monitoring it, that's the key, that's the effective word, monitor. I periodically glance there, and I only glance when, let's say, my cadence changes appreciably, like a grade pops up and I get into some rhythm. I just glance for reference. Because when I'm riding, I'm more in tune with the environment than that head unit. This is going up a bit. It's under 1%, but it's a false flat. Another cyclist going the other way. I think that was the only guy we saw out here. This place is usually crowded with runners and everything, and there's really hardly anybody out. We're right at freezing. It just stayed cold the early part of the morning. When it warmed up, it got there quickly. We're turning left, and here we saw a guy running. You can't see him on camera. He's in front of us where that car is coming from. He's going the other way. We're turning left here, and he had no shirt on And Frankie thought it was a girl because he had his jacket or whatever tied around his waist. And that's what we're laughing at, because his body was steaming. Which is just not logical to be out there in this cold weather with no shirt. I mean, bare top, just running. So I don't know what he was trying to prove, but you're just stressing your system. That's a good way to get some kind of illness. That's what we're talking about. I'm like,
That's stupid, man. That's not tough. That's a pure stupidity.
this guy's out there running in freezing weather with no shirt on, and he's got his jacket tied around his waist. Frankie thought it was a girl.
That's just a rendezvous.
I wish the camera had gotten him, so you guys. We just saw a bunch of steam
There
coming
is
off his body.
nothing smart about it.
Yeah, if you were standing and not even running, you took off your shirt in this weather, you basically telling your body, I want you to stress yourself to keep our organs warm. And he's running. You see all the steam coming off of him? That's a body heat.
I don't know where he learned that, but
That's just a pure stupidity.
not very wise. It's still cold. I'm covering my chin. And this guy's running without a shirt. That's what we're just flabbergasted here.
At first I thought
Ah, it's
I
one
had my
C. It's
glasses
warmed
on.
up a bit.
That's just a pure stupidity, man.
Frankie's calling me the Italian stallion. He said that's what he's gonna dub me. I told him, nah, I don't think so. I think that name's already taken.
Classifying us
I think
now.
that's what's his name, Sylvester Stallone.
Frank is classifying us now in a region.
He says everything on my bike is Italian. And I thought about it, and he's right. The bars, everything, stem. I think Triple T is Italian. Or is it French? It might be French. I don't know. Gotta look it up. Yeah, Triple T is Italian. So the entire bike and its components on the Colnago is Italian. Except for the handlebar tape, which is British by Brooks. So at this point, I decided to take the boys down to a loop that the Woodland Cycling Club uses for their weeknight training sessions, where they're like the training races. It's in a subdivision, and there's really like maybe one stop sign. So I'm letting them know when it's safe to turn. And this is it. In fact, I guess.
They come out here to meet during the week sometimes. I got the camera on. When you see what I'm talking about.
There was a sign here specifically put
The
for
first time I
cyclists.
came out here by myself one cold winter's day, when I saw the sign, I realized there's got to be enough people out here for the state to come and put out a sign.
The state put out a sign that said cyclists must obey traffic laws.
So you see,
That's
right
what's
here.
coming up here.
That's
This yellow
for
sign.
us. Right there.
So here's the sign that the state put out: cyclists must obey traffic laws.
Breaking the law.
I guess there's enough cyclists coming here when they do their training races.
You know how they do.
In our experience, while we're here when we did
this is
this
a
loop,
subdivision, and their usual way to go this way. I don't know where they meet or whatever, but this is the loop. You know how we are. So the people must have complained enough that the state put a sign there. Yeah, well, there's enough cyclists coming here doing that. In the summer, they come out here and they come and they work out. That's what happened.
you got hundreds of cyclists or more that come out here in the summer when they do their training races. And I have a feeling that the people in the subdivision don't want us here. And I believe they complained to the state, and the state told them, sorry, they have a right to be there. And so the compromise was to stick that sign out there. And my conclusion comes from the fact that while we're here doing this loop, a couple of drivers came by and were riding and they're honking before they pass, as if to say they've never seen a cyclist on the road before. So in the way they honked, it wasn't like a...
And it's always like
it
this.
was like
Doesn't
an
matter what time
annoying
of the day you
kind of
come
honk.
here. Quiet.
It's the kind of honk that makes you want to get out of your car and smack them if somebody honks at you like that. That's what we got, a couple of those when we're riding on this day. So I just told me that they're pissed off that we're here. Well, they just don't have to get over it. It's a public road.
I don't know exactly which loop they do,
because
you have
put that
choices.
sign out there, which means absolutely zilch.
And then coming back, it's a nice climb on one part of it, huh?
That's like putting up a sign that says drivers should not speed.
Yeah, you can fly down. Except when people coming out of the driveway, you got nothing to deal with. So they come out here and they get over there.
They probably went and complained thinking they would prevent the guys from coming out to do their training races, and the state probably told them, sorry, it's a public road. It's the same thing. People complain in a subdivision, somebody's parked on the side of the street. Why don't they park in the driveway? It's a public road. If they want to park on the street, they can. You know, but it's stuff people complain about. So that's just my take on it. I may be wrong, but you know, I didn't see anything major. There's only one stop sign we came across on the entire loop. So if that's what they're running, it was like a three-way, one stop sign, and it's not a big deal. So I just think that the neighborhood people were complaining. They complained enough, and so the state put that sign there to pacify them. And if that's the case, they're just a bunch of big babies. They better get over it. I told one motorist on this ride, at the end of the ride, I told him, you don't like us being on the road? Go to Mars. Go to Mars, because this is Earth. We're here. We're not going anywhere. That's just what I told him. I don't know where that came from, but I just felt compelled to tell him that. He cut us off at a light, just being a jerk. And knowing that he had done something wrong, he looked in his outside mirror. He looked back to see us after he stopped at the light, because we ended up right behind him. He knew. And so I wanted him to know we're not going anywhere. We're here. They do the same thing when you drive in your car. And in our area here in Houston, unfortunately, there's been some incidents where drivers have shot other drivers just over nothing. Some argument on the road. Some lady was shot in the head on the highway. Fortunately, she didn't die because she was arguing with another motorist, and he freaked out and took out a gun and shot her in the head. You know, I'm sure she wasn't expecting that kind of an escalation. But you know, they get out on the roads in these cars and act like they're angry at the world. You know, you're living in an economy where you get to drive. You think they would be thrilled they don't have to walk like in other places in the world. You got your personal vehicle. Why are you so angry? You know, because you gotta share the road with other people. It's just funny. I don't understand that, because they don't understand the privileges that we have in this country. We take it for granted. Some of them, not everybody, of course. Nothing generalized ever works, but I think that a lot of people that live in the U.S. that haven't been exposed to other parts of the world take too much for granted. We have a lot, and we just take it for granted. We just spoil it. I mean, other people would be thrilled to have a personal vehicle that they can get in and go somewhere. You know, They get in there, they act like they're mad because it takes a while. Well, you know. Anyway, back to cycling. Right here, I'm explaining to the guys that this is a big loop. That is an option. Like if you come and you want to shorten the loop, this street here we just passed, you can turn and cut the loop. But we're gonna do the entire loop and go all the way down so I can show them what the Woodlands Club uses for their training races. Ended up being such a good idea to come here. It's a nice road. We could ride 2 abreast with no problem. Every time we came to a rise, Frankie was like, these guys, like we seek out the hills. And so he started teasing us, talking about you guys go around looking for hills. We can't really avoid them in this part of town, but you know, this is the area that has just a few rollers. You know, so it's good to have. Breaks up the monotony. We have flat roads on the west, like northwest of where we live, like the ride we did a few weeks ago in the wind, that is completely flat. That was so boring for me. I'd much rather have the variety. And I kind of like pinch myself when I say that because I used to dread hills, even the short ones that we're riding now. So you just have to work on your weaknesses, and then they become fun for anything in life. Right here, Santa looks like he's held up. He's got his hands up in the air, so we joking about.
Pick him up.
Paul says stick him up. So we're joking about it. Yeah, I don't get into the Santa part of the celebration because where I grew up, there is no Santa Claus. We celebrate Christmas because it's the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. So I've taught my kids that early, and so we don't get into that. I don't know what that's about. It's almost like, and it's very prevalent, you know, on TV, wherever. You just see Santa everywhere. And very few references to the true celebration of it. In the U.S., it's a big commercial thing. So, you know, and some people kind of overextend themselves financially because of the pressures of buying stuff. So I don't get into that. So I love the holidays and I love Christmas and all of that, but I don't get into where you have to get all this stuff in order to have a great Christmas. We use the time to spend time with the people that mean the most to us. That's how I celebrated. That's how I was raised. So it's fun. I love this time of year. I love everything in the air. Everybody's in a good mood and everything, so it's good. It's just not good to push the commercial side too much because it puts pressure on some people that can't buy a lot of stuff and they get depressed and all of that. So that's the part I try to teach my girls not to get into, because not everybody can buy a lot of stuff. And so most people I know, I tell them just send me a card or call, leave a voicemail, send me an email. That's good enough. I don't need any stuff. So it's a great feeling this time of year. Great karma in the air. That's what I enjoy, and I'm sure everybody else does. So we turn here and I point out that there's a hill coming and we're already in the climb right here. And I start reading the gradient to Frankie's dismay. Frankie says, stop counting. I said, it's just a grade.
You kept counting way back there.
So we're headed back the way we came. We've gone to the end of the loop and now we're headed back east. We were going west before, and so I'm explaining to them that these are some of the streets that you could shorten the loop with. So we hit another climb here. Nice short one.
Yeah.
So about 3%, 3 to 4%, something like that. And Frankie's not happy. He's like, you guys seeking climbs. You look for climbs. You can see the grade. The camera is doing a good job of showing you that the road ascends.
Yeah. Man, those legs hurt.
The gimbal just does a great job of keeping that camera balanced. So this was the only stop sign that we saw on the entire loop, other than when you enter the subdivision initially. So this is a great loop to come and do time trial training, any kind of workout where you don't want to deal with stops. And I see why they come out here. On this turn here now, this is taking us up a road called Breckenridge. You can see it ascends right on the corner. And look ahead, it just goes up. So it's a good course. You can get a good workout out here. So it makes sense why they come out here to do their training races. It's quiet. A lot of these spaces are empty lots. Nothing's built up, so it's quiet. It's really nice. We're still ascending here. And these are the things you need to do wherever you are. Find areas where you can do your little interval training, or you can do your little time trial training on a quiet road, regardless of the time of day. They're out there. So yeah, you have to deal with a little bit of traffic to get to them, but then once you get there, you get your workout in. So right about here, it gets a little busy. This car goes by. You're not going to hear the horn, but the next car that comes by was the guy that, or the person that honked real obnoxiously. So I just stayed there. And he ended up moving over, which is what he should have done instead of trying to be a jerk. There's nothing really out here. It's Saturday morning, cold, it's early, quiet area. I don't know what the need was. Everybody seemed to be in a hurry. So I just don't care for them to think that we're riding scared, which is what I call it. We are vulnerable when we're on the road, but I'm not going to be diving for the curb because somebody taps their horn. I usually check to make sure it's not a safety issue. You know, when they honk, I look behind. I look under my arm to see what's coming. I've tried mirrors on my bikes, mirrors on the handlebars, all the stuff. I still have some in my toolkit in the shop. They just never work. They shake so much, and I never trusted the images. So over the years that I've been cycling, I have more confidence in looking under my arm or just tilting my head and looking back than rear view mirrors. I've tried the ones that you put on your helmet, you name it. The ones on the bars, they vibrate too much and they just don't work. So I've just gotten so accustomed to just looking back, because I see other riders that have the ones that go in the handlebar where you put the plugs, the end plugs. I've tried those as well. They just don't give you a good enough image to have confidence, because I watch you, they still turn around and look anyway. So I don't really worry about it. I ride safely, I follow the rules, and do the best I can to stay safe. But we're headed now out of this loop area here, and we're gonna get on the open road and pick up the effort a little bit. So it was good to just kind of get the guys out and show them this little loop. Right now I'm in zone 1. We're just kind of rolling out of here. 2 hours into the ride. Temperature's 5°C. So it's warmed up nicely. I think I may have already removed my neck warmer at this point. It's 5°C. I think it's in the 40s, I believe. Yeah, it's right above 40, 41 degrees.
Yeah.
Right here, we turn onto the main lane that exits this neighborhood. It looks like a guard shack right here. And we come across some cleaners, the vultures. There's a dead animal on the right there. There's a bunch of them there. They take off, and these birds are huge. So we're heading towards 2978 Huffsmith Kerrville Road, and we're gonna go south. We're going towards town. We're winding this ride down. So we get on the highway here, and we're using the shoulder. I checked because there's a guy parked on the right here. He's got cones, a utility vehicle. I checked to make sure it's clear. Since the shoulder is nice and wide and it's safe, we use it. It's a busy road, we use the shoulder. If it weren't there, we'd be in the lane. That's just the way it works. So I try to reach for food here, and I've got a lot of stuff packed together, and so my gloves are not really allowing me to access exactly what I want. I don't want to disturb all the contents of my pocket, because I like things to be in there neatly to where they're not all over the place. So what I end up doing in a little bit is I sit up and ride no hands. There's not a whole lot of wind. Pull off my glove. It actually felt good with the gloves coming off because it's in the 40s, like 6C is like mid 40s Fahrenheit. And so then I'm able to get what I need, get something to eat. The shoulder here is very good. There's just one spot that comes up that has a hole that they just patched poorly. You know, they just dropped a blob of asphalt in there. The hole was there for the longest time, and it was a hole that would bother a vehicle. If you drove your car in there, it would probably wreck your front end. It was that deep of a hole. They just came in, dropped a blob of asphalt in there and moved on. It's not smooth at all, so we avoid it. I know it's there. I've ridden on this road enough times. It's been there more than a year. There it is. I'm pointing at it. There it is. Imagine that was just a deep hole. At least they've dropped some asphalt in there, but my thing is what kind of crew will repair a hole like that and leave it about 10 centimeters or so lower than the rest of the surrounding surface? I mean, God, take pride in what you do. You're gonna do the job, do it right. That's just a lousy patch job. But it's better than it was before, so I guess we have to take solace in that fact. So we decide, I mentioned to the boys in a little bit that we're going to turn left down the road, and that way we take a scenic route instead of staying on this highway. The highway is okay, it's just boring. It's a heavily traveled route by cyclists, so it's not a difficult road to use. It's just not much to it. I guess it comes in handy if you just want to go fast with few interruptions. This is a good route for that. You can see the temperature creeping up. When it did get warm, it warmed up quickly. That usually happens when the air is very dry. The front that came through, that storm that brought the snow. This is the remnants of it. heading in an area right, the Woodlands is to our left, which is west. We're not going into the Woodlands on the way back today. We use that when we're headed out. We're gonna go through another area they refer to as Oklahoma. I didn't even know the area until I saw it on the map, that it had a name called Oklahoma. I'll point it out when we get there. So we hit the green light here, so no delay. We're rolling. This is a road you could take left and go back into the Woodlands if you wanted to, but we're not. We're headed straight south. The course says southeast. In a short while, we come to a bridge here, and a lot of these bridges, there are gaps between the regular pavement and the bridge, and I basically unload my bike. You want to do that to save your wheels. They don't seem to line them up very well, and even if they start out, that's why you see me waving. I'm letting the boys know there's a big crack. So you unload so you don't bottom out your wheel. You can get a pinch flat or worse, or you can even get just the spokes out of alignment. There's another one here. This one's worse than the other one. As long as you're on the pedals, you're good. But the bike will just bounce. I'm letting the boys know that we're going straight because sometimes we go right. You can see my light looks a little dim. When the battery gets low on the light, instead of it running out, it goes into what they call low power mode, and that's what it's in right now. So you still have some lighting. And your goal should be to be able to clip in like you see me doing. Right away, one clip, no force, nothing, just goes in. You need to practice that. That should become second nature. Because if you don't learn that, you're riding with other riders and you're fumbling with your cleats, you will always be chasing the group from any stop. You get gapped. To work on that. You see how these drivers are giving us room? That's the norm, because there is an ordinance in the Houston area where you're supposed to give cyclists 3 feet. I think Australia has something similar. I think it's 3 meters there, which is it 3 meters? Because 3 meters would probably be like 9 feet. I don't know. It may not be 3 meters. I don't know. But Australia has an ordinance. Here is 3 feet, which makes sense. But not all these drivers obey. Just like not everybody obeys the speed limit. Same thing. Some of them are not even aware of it. But so even though we're on the shoulder, the drivers that are aware of it hug the yellow line as they go by, like this other vehicle just did, and that truck just did. You know, not all of them are going to do that. So sometimes it seems a lot closer when they come by, especially if they're doing 45 or 50 miles an hour or whatever. It's a little noisy and you feel the wind gust. So if you're going to be passed by a large vehicle, make sure your hands are on the bars. That's not the time to be no hands riding or anything, because the gust of wind, especially trucks, can blow your bike. So just be aware of that as you ride. This is a slight grade here. It's not up to 1%, but you can see it because the gimbal has this frame so well. You can see the road is going up, and we feel that. And our goal today was to just get more miles in. So zone 2, that's where we're riding in most of the time. And then once we get on a quiet road, we take a breather, we chat, have a conversation. That's the whole thing. This time of year is for long, steady miles. You're not racing anybody. There will be plenty of time to go faster after January. But right now what we're doing, we're getting ready for the festive 500. So consistent riding is the preparation. If you're going to ride something like the festive 500 where you have to ride every day, before it comes up, you need to get your body used to riding frequently. Otherwise, in a couple of days into the event, you'll be very tired. Frankie sent a text last night. He said he signed up for the festive 500. So I need to send him a text letting him know that he needs to ride consistently. But he'll probably hear it on this video anyway. You need to ride at least 4 days a week between now and Christmas Eve. Get your body ready if you're gonna do an event like that. So we plan to ride about 80 kilometers minimum every day. Sometimes more than that, maybe 100 kilometers, about 62 miles. So we should have no problem meeting and exceeding basic requirements for the festive 500. I'm looking back because we're going to turn left and go through a real pretty neighborhood here instead of staying on this highway the whole way. It's clear, so we get out in the lane. And I think there's a car coming, so I tell the boys to wait. That's how you do it. You want to minimize risks. Don't take chances when you're out there. It's not worth it.
Nice night, 49.5 degrees. Almost 10 C. Okay. 49 and a half, yeah. Almost 50.
I was telling Frankie that cumulative miles make a difference. You don't pay your dues, you're not going to be able to keep up with the big boys. That's just the way it works. In every sport, you got to pay your dues. Even if you have a high level of talent, you still got to do the work to perform at your best. These are the miles that really conditions the body. We're building capillaries. Right now we're in zone 1. So we've got 2.5 hours on a cold day when no one else came out. And we just came out, we chatted, we rode steady. We're on the downside of a 3-hour plus ride, cutting through a beautiful neighborhood here. This allows us to relax a little bit before we go back. We're going to go back on that highway and go up the overpass, and then we'll work a little bit. That's the way you want your rides to be. You don't need to be on the rivet all the time. This is physical conditioning and psychological conditioning, because what happens is you're not going to be sick of going hard when it's necessary. You'll be anxious for it. So every ride should have a purpose. And the purpose of this ride this time of year is get the kilometers in your legs. Build the capillaries. Condition your body. This is what gives you fitness. We're building fitness, we're building strength. Endurance. Endurance strength. And having somebody to ride with, even the top guys. You know, the whole team doesn't train together all the time. The guys that really get along in a team, they hook up and they go in and get the time in. On these kind of rides, you need company, but you're not training your aerobic capacity here, where everybody's at different levels. Here is just steady, so you get the hours will pass much quicker if you have company. And then you need to look for groups that are doing these kind of rides this time of year. And if they're not, and you can sit in and be at zone 2, then you sit in, you don't pull. Because that's whatever your plan is, let the group help give you company. Don't pull when you're trying to stay in a certain zone if you know that going to the front will get you above that zone. That's the way you use the group to your benefit. And then when you need to work hard, then you pull that day when you hook up with a group. So when you do group rides, have a plan and try to find a group that will allow you to execute that plan. That's why you will see people out there that will let other riders go because they have a plan. They know what they're doing. It's December. Who are you racing? There's nothing going on. Unless you got something coming up in January, this is not the time. And the ride we're preparing for is the Festive 500. That's just steady. So we're going to be doing the Festive 500 between Zone 2 and Zone 4. That's what we're going to do. We're going to want to leave that ride and that challenge with a high level of fitness, because by New Year's Day we want to be ready to step it up. I did that last year and it really conditioned me. These are the rides where you get toned, you lose fat, and you get your body just ripped, where your clothes fit you better. So we're coming back to the same 2978 Huffsmith Kerrville. We did like a horseshoe on this road. It brought us further down, so we didn't have to spend the entire time on that highway. So we go across here. The pavement is very rough. It's a wide shoulder, but these guys should be ashamed who did this job right here. I don't know what this was. Looked like they just left the asphalt. It's like spare asphalt they just threw down with no care or no mind, you know. Good thing it's just real short. So I'm standing here the whole way. I'm trying to lift my effort level, because standing definitely gets your heart pumping a little more, a few beats above when you're seated, maybe 5 or 7 beats more. I want to lift my effort. We've been chatting on that back road that we took. There's an overpass coming, so pretty much in zone 2, just standing on the pedals and not really going very hard. This shoulder here is a little bumpy with that bridge. Like all the bridges, they're never smooth. What the joints are on the regular road. Right here, these drivers have to wait. And Paul tells Frankie to be careful, because some of them make bad decisions. Those are the things you have to look out for. They will turn in front of you, making bad decisions. So when you're riding, be aware of that and be prepared to stop if they do. There's no point in you injuring yourself. I'm not sure what we're talking about here at this point. I don't remember, but we're having a good time. It warmed up 9C. It's right below 50. It might be like 46 or 47. It's nice and warm. we had dressed perfectly for the weather. I think this is where I took off my, I'm taking off my neck. My neck warmer. Pull that off. That's why I like it. It stretches enough to where you can take it off without taking out the helmet. You know, I got it from Rafa, very cheap in the sale, and it's an excellent garment. It's well designed. I love the fact that it does its job, but you don't have to remove your helmet to remove it. So I was able to do that on the fly. So right here, I'm messing around with the bike. I decided to do kind of a track stand. I mistimed the light, thinking that this truck's gone, it's gonna change. So when I start to go, then the light doesn't change. So then I'm trying to hold a track stand on the rough pavement because I wasn't expecting to have to hold it that long. You know, we used to play with that. We used to practice that. So if you're gonna do that, you need to practice. You know, I mean, that's not the best one I've ever done, but I was kind of thrown off by my timing of the light. I can pretty much do those to where I just go back and forth in one spot. So I just remained off the saddle for the most part. Going up this hill, I decided that I'm going to just climb it out of the saddle. There's not much wind. Like 10C right there, so it's nice and warm. That's why I pulled up that neck warmer. I pulled it up because knowing that this is going up, I figured my body would get hot. So here I stand. And I'm prepared to go all the way out of the saddle. Then Frankie goes on the right. So I got on his wheel. I looked at Paul, then got on his wheel. As soon as I got to his wheel, I kicked to the left and then kicked some more and decided I was just going to go ahead and get over the climb. So then Paul comes around Frankie here. So according to my heart rate, I'm in zone 4. It felt like zone 3. I didn't feel like I was going that hard. So I dropped the power just a little bit here. Just enough so the boys can close up. I looked under my arm. I saw Paul coming up. Right about here, I figure he should be in my draft. And I decide I'm just going to maintain the effort. I look back, I see him in my draft, and I just decide, let's just go ahead and carry on. Everything just felt good on this ride. The outfit was perfect for the temperatures that we dealt with. And at this point, I was feeling really good. And I just decided, let's just roll. The boys were in my drive. You see Paul getting closer. That's the Rafa deep winter gloves you see there. It was perfect. All the way down to freeze, and I had no problems with my hands. It looks bulky, but it does not feel bulky. You can pick up a coin with those bad boys. Had a little trouble getting my food because they were packed in there. I carried a lot of food. Other than that, it performed well. And of course, the Belgian overshoes. That glass there, I'm waving at so the boys can be aware of it. Those over socks were perfect. My toes were nice and warm. No issues. What you guys are looking at is a fit. This is a well-fitted bicycle to my body. and it just, you feel like you're floating on the pedals when you're going, and you're just supported where you need to be. Nothing's uncomfortable, and even when seated, it looks like you're dancing on the pedals. Paul got really close because we sustained this for a while. I'm at the bottom of zone 4 here for me, but it's a good clip. Just a sweet road, beautiful day. Why not? So even though the plan was zone 2, we felt good. We're winding down the ride. You can tap over a little bit because the idea is your average for the ride should be your zone you want. You don't spend all the time here, but nothing wrong with playing there for a little bit. It felt like zone 3 to me. And right here we're going to turn left, so we're waiting for traffic, and some guy saw us and he slowed down to let us get in because we're going to go in the left lane. So he sees us, so we wave at him and thank him. He slowed down and he's in the left lane behind this car, so we got behind this car here. And I told Frankie to come over because he was a little over the line. So right here, I tell the boys to hurry so the other guy doesn't catch the red light. The guy that let us in. So we hustled through so he could have a green light. A left turn. And I wave at him as he comes by and thank him. The guy in the Jeep. And this is the FM 2920. There's a slight wind today. It's not as windy as it usually is, but this road is very exposed, as you can see, especially on the right. This is like farm country. And in a little while, I suggest to the boys that we go ahead and start a little rotation. I'm trying to get Frankie to come to the front, and he finally catches on. I tell him, short pulls. Take a short pull, we'll rotate. And then I told Paul to give me the camera and get behind Frankie so I can film. Swap cameras as we take pulls. So at this point, I get the camera and I just go ahead and start filming. Sit in the draft here. Frankie's pulling. He ended up staying there for quite a while, but I'm not sure what happened at this point in the ride. But we had the camera on longer than what we have filmed for, and for some reason, the footage ends with Frankie pulling here, and then Paul taking over after Frankie is done pulling. When Frankie starts to slow down a bit, Paul goes to the front. So we'll just let you guys watch the rest of this where Frankie and Paul wrap our ride for us, because there was some technical issues that we lost some footage after Paul takes over, and so the ride ends with them taking us home on 2920. think the battery may have quit on us, and in the heat of the moment, we weren't paying that close attention to it. Because that's about the only thing that we didn't change the battery on this product. Could be with the temperatures like they were. Who knows? These components behave differently, different ranges of temperature. So, as Frankie pulls here, I'm in the back and I'm thinking, well, maybe he's staying there too long. So even though the clip ends, what ends up happening is when Paul takes over, I have to stay behind with Frankie because he falls off the pace for a little bit and we catch back up. So I hope you guys got a chance to get some kilometers in your legs. But there weren't a whole lot of other cyclists out this weekend because of the cold, but we were able to get some kilometers in our legs. So get out there, stay safe while you're out there.